Good evening. Hello. I was contacted this evening by, I won't say exactly how, because I want to be really careful not to cause anybody any problems here, but I was contacted by somebody who knows somebody that currently works at the, that currently works at the Countess of Chester Hospital in a professional capacity. And I've got I copied and pasted the chat here that we've had. And so some information has come through that about what somebody who does work there, what they're feeling about the situation with Lucy Letby. I'm having to dance around a lot of stuff here because there's nothing I want to say here, which is I want to identify anybody, obviously. But it's, first of all, it underlines the idea that people are not allowed to frightened to, maybe not frightened, I don't want to say the person's frightened, but they're not allowed to say anything about it. I suppose if you're not allowed to do it and you do it, then it's the idea there'll be repercussions. The overall sense here is that the person who works there, although they don't say it absolutely explicitly, they say you can form your own opinion, but what they've said, what I've read from them, goes along with what I've heard elsewhere, which is that previous colleagues and other people in that hospital believe that they don't believe it's right, and they're shocked that it even got to court, let alone a conviction. And that's happening now. That's happening now, subsequent to the conviction. Not before the court case, now. That's how they feel now. So I'm just going to sort of scroll through this and pick out anything that I can safely without in any way identifying anyone. One of the crucial things is that they've sent through they sent through to the person that first contacted me a lot of links, that some of which I've seen before and looked through a little bit before, various reports. So one of the ones they mention is this thing called the RCP CH report, which is the Royal College of Paediatrics and Child Health. And it's the report that was issued before the police investigation. So this person who works there now advises everyone to look at that and to look at the CQC report. So that's vital to do. So I have looked at those in some ways, and the CQC identifies various risks, and that's a 2014 report I've seen of that, risks in the hospital, particularly in relation to into incidents that happen with patients not being properly reported by clinical staff, and it's noted as a risk factor in the CQC report. I can't go into too much detail here in the sense I can't link all these things. I can't do links on YouTube, and I'm not technically minded enough to start bringing up pages of it very easily. Maybe I should learn to do that. But the person that works there, the professional that works there, also mentions looking at the Midwifery Council report, if somebody can find that. I'm assuming of the same period, around the same period, so 2014 and perhaps going to 2015, 2016, those being the most important years as they affect Lucy Letby, but possibly after as well. They also feel that the CQC is not really worth listening to. I think that they're suggesting that they're partial in some way or not very effective. Perhaps they're suggesting that they're letting things go and they're not reporting on them correctly. Well, they state, actually, I'll put it very. I'm not identifying anyone by saying this. Person who works there at a high level, I won't say any more than that, in terms of their professional position. They believe the CQC are not independent, and obviously they're supposed to be. That's the Care Quality Council, that's right, isn't it? I've looked at those kind of reports before to do with care homes. The Care Quality Commission, the Care Quality Commission reports. So these sort of things can be found online on searches. You can start looking at that kind of stuff if you have a mind to. They're suggesting looking at the mortality rates for the whole hospital, and they say it might go over your head because you have to understand how different departments feed into each other, so that is quite complicated. I haven't looked at these myself yet. There's a very important issue here that the person raises, and when I say the person, this is the person who works at the Countess of Chester Hospital at the moment. And they say that, and this isn't going to identify them, but I'll read out verbatim what they've said. And let's not forget that the neonatal unit, this is the one where Lucy Letby worked, the neonatal unit has been demolished now, and the hospital drainage system has been completely refitted since. So we go back to the plumber, the problem with the water, possible sewage coming out, all kinds of the risks of pathogens, the risks of viral issues going around that unit before. Well, it was a chronic problem, obviously. I'll read that again. And let's not forget that the neonatal unit has been demolished now. They demolished the whole building. And the drainage system has completely been refitted since the times the crimes, quote-unquote crimes, were meant to have happened. I'll leave you to infer what that might mean in terms of other possible causes for spikes in deaths of babies. The person says here, they say a lot of personal things that I won't read any of it because it might identify them. But they say a general thing that is that they believe in justice, as hopefully we all do. Well, we obviously don't all do. Some of the people that hounded Lucy, the police, that manipulated evidence and looked at it through a certain lens, don't seem to believe in justice. And there's a lot of people out there just can't be bothered to look into this to any degree. They just they've found somebody to hate. They found the witch, haven't they? And they're determined to make sure she pays, even though she's done nothing at all. It's the scapegoat. So this person then says their professional title, which I won't mention. And they mention it as a result of their profession. It talks about their particular skills, which I won't mention either because I don't want to give any sense of who they are. But the gist of it all is that this person is very shocked that the CPS even brought it to trial. And I will say this phrase here because, again, it won't point to any individual. This is somebody who works there now at the COCH, the Countess of Chester Hospital, who describes the COCH as a shit show. So that's really striking, isn't it? They also talk about, and I can't seem to get this document up, they talk about a staffing grid which was entered into the testimony, which showed everyone that was on duty when the babies either were allegedly assaulted, attacked, or that eventually they died, so murdered. That was the conviction. That's what the conviction stated, that they were murdered. But this person who works at the COCH now maintains that this staffing grid, so I suppose everyone that's everyone that was, all the staff that were there at any given at the specific given times when these alleged crimes took place, it didn't include every member of staff who had access to the babies, didn't include them. Only the clinical staff. But as we see, they didn't do a graph for the doctors even to show when they're being on the unit correlated to deaths. They didn't do any. They didn't involve the doctors at all, because obviously they're above suspicion. I'm not saying we should suspect them of any kind of crime, but we're talking about who's around when young babies die, you know. But they only did it for one person, didn't they? And we know who that is, the scapegoat. They did it for one person, the scapegoat. They also say that since the report, what is the report they're talking about? I'm not sure what the report is, but they say now that the staff have to wear GPS trackers in the hospital. So there's been a change there. I'm not sure what the report is. It might be the RC, the one I mentioned earlier, the RC CH report. Maybe it's that one. They're not specific about it. I'm gonna have to bring this to a close soon. I've only got 15 minutes at the moment. I think I'm not allowed. I can't do more than a 15 minutes. And I think I might bring this to a close now. Oh yes, well they mentioned also there's another document here, which is which Dr. Scott McLachlan talks about and uses for his research, and it's a report called the Embrace MBRRACE report. So that's another report about deaths. Perinatal surveillance. I've not looked at that. It's completely new to me, but I know that Dr. McLachlan was looking at that to draw his conclusions about how many babies may or may not have died across the years 2015 and 16. Oh yeah, so the person here works at COCH now at Chester Hospital. The document tells you exactly how many babies die each year, so that's the one that Dr. McLachlan's using. But the person also mentions that to look at the stillbirth rates as well, and that's important because it tells you what might be going wrong in obstetrics. And also look at the context of the rising national figure. And lastly, how many were referred to the coroner and had post-mortem accepted. So I'm out of my depth there in terms of I've not seen those reports, and I'm not in any way, I don't have any medical or legal background, but it's someone overall that works there that clearly is of a mind that they're very shocked that it even got past the CPS, probably shocked there was even a charge, let alone taking it to the CPS. That's the main thing I want to draw from that there. And everyone can go and try to find these documents and look for them, because they are available out there. Perhaps not the midwifery one. The person said that they're not sure if that's available. So, and then there was another Freedom of Information request I'm just seeing here about the births and deaths either side of the Lucy Letby case. Well, this is all very important about what happens, and also about the downgrading, as we've talked about before in July 2016, the downgrading of the unit so that it wouldn't take any babies, any premature babies of gestation less than 32 weeks, which would obviously have then effect that would bring down the number of very, very, the intense need, really, of looking after babies. I've got to finish this now. I'm coming up to 15 minutes. Sorry about that ramble at the end.